Okay, I want to turn our attention to what is probably going to be one of the most interesting things here. And even though the answer may be kind of similar for these three scenarios, I want to talk about, so on actual PulseChain launch, we've got a few scenarios of people that are going to be experiencing this. And it's going to be crazy, obviously, the first few days, first few weeks, really. Who am I kidding? But, we're going to have people who have sacrificed for both PulseChain and PulseX, even more people that just sacrificed for PulseX. And I'm not sure of the numbers here, but maybe more people who didn't have an opportunity to sacrifice at all, because we are now a year on, over a year actually, from even the Pulse X sacrifice. So looking at these three scenarios, Coffee, and we're not obviously giving out financial advice to people directly or anything, but just some kind of broad brush stuff. Somebody maybe in your shoes, who obviously has sacrificed for both of these. What's kind of your plans the first few days, and what would you think one's plans should or could be that's already, kind of comfortable with the bag that they sacrificed for? Are you just kind of sitting back, watching the action? What do you think about launch day?
That's it, man. I'm going to get on I'm going to get on a live stream. I know someone's going to be hosting like a 24-hour live stream. It's not going to be me, but I'll hop on. I'll get my popcorn. I'll enjoy the scam wicks and watching everybody get rinsed out, just fighting over each other, just get the scraps. But no, I'm good. I've got my bags. My bags are packed. And I would tell a lot of people too, don't feel like you need to do much of anything. You can dollar cost average in afterwards if you're just a little patient. You're not going to, the risk of people doing something that could shoot themselves in the foot is pretty high. And a lot of people think they're going to be smart. Well, it's like, you can't all be smart, right? Like there has to be a winner and a loser if you're going to try ratio trading beforehand. So I just don't want to give any like formal recommendations on that, because if it was me and I didn't already have a PulseChain and PulseX bag, or if I didn't already sacrifice, then I'd probably set a really conservative limit order based on the price of Hex and what the price of Hex was pre-fork, right? Or what it is over on Ethereum. And I would try to relatively judge that to the sacrifice price of PulseX or Pulse or whichever bag I'm trying to accumulate. And remember, that price was $0.0001. And I would just do the math on those ratios, right? But set a very, very conservative limit order too, because people might fat finger it. People might mess it up and maybe add an extra zero onto their transaction, and it could slip easily into your limit order. It's going to be pure chaos, though. It's going to be one of the most entertaining couple of days I think I'll ever exist in.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how many people actually wreck themselves thinking that they're smart, doing the right thing, and trying to do things too early, too fast, too drunk. I mean, who knows what the mindset is? But yeah, the fat finger thing could just wreck somebody. Adding an extra zero or an extra any number could really screw you up. So, my advice to people is to just sit back and wait, only because Hex didn't bottom for 33 days.
Exactly.
We could see a very similar pattern. Who knows? No one really knows what's going to happen. But
you look at every chart of a new coin, they all kind of look the same. There's always some group that got in early that just wants to get out. Some percentage of that. It's not going to be everybody, but look at look at Ethereum when it launched. Look at any big hyped project that had some kind of an ICO or even VC backing, and they dump for the first couple of months. That's just what happens. People that were waiting for the project are going to take short-term profits. Maybe they make a 2x, maybe they make a 3x, but like they're ignoring the 1000x potential on the table. And that's where you can slowly just slide your way in. And don't freak out. It's all going to be okay. It's going to be fun. I mean, I'm going to probably have to just be making tutorials in the background. I'm not going to be touching the buy button or the sell button at all.
Yeah. And we forget about all the people that are angry that it's taken this long because they don't know how to be patient. So the second it launches, who knows what they do? They could really need that money because they overextended themselves.
I guess, man. But if you've waited this far without it,
I know.
Right. Yeah. Hey, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink.
Right.
One of the angles I'm most intrigued by, because I think this is going to be the majority of the people. Most people were able to sacrifice for Pulse X, did not sacrifice for PulseChain, and are going to be like scrambling or wanting to get in to Pulse. And And, you know, we see, I'm a big fan. I always talk about your friend Sami's channel. I don't know if you've seen him at all, Coffee.
Yeah,
He's
he's
pretty
awesome.
good. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
pretty good. I like his stuff a lot. But he's been reviewing this and talking about what people that have PulseX are going to do. And, you know, just FOMOing it, selling their PulseX, ratioing it into PulseChain. And to me, I really agree with what Sami's kind of been saying on it. And like you just kind of alluded to it, Coffee, like, you know, you can't all be right. Not everybody's going to be right. So to me, if there's anything you want to accomplish, or if you can't keep yourself away from trading these things, or, you know, DCAing early on or something like that, to me, it's like, let's just go in the opposite direction than where the market is going then. Like if we're starting to see value creep out of EHEX early on, I might want to DCA a little bit into EHEX. If we're seeing the PulseX ratio get crazy, I might want to even, you know, double down and DCA even more into PulseX. I mean, to me, it just kind of makes sense to go whatever the overreaction is, go the opposite way. I'm not saying that's something that people have to do. I mean, obviously sitting on your hands is fine too, but wherever you're seeing everything go is probably going to be the direction you don't want to follow, I guess is what I'm saying early on.
I think you're right, man. I mean, it makes sense, doesn't it? It's very, very simple. And people are overcomplicating it, or they're biasing themselves and they're deluding themselves because they hold a bag of PulseX. But guys, the PulseX sacrifice came after the PulseChain sacrifice. So just by timing of it, a lot of people found out about PulseX after PulseChain, and a lot of people missed PulseChain, PLS. And now it lasted at least triple the time, right? It was 47 days, I think, rather than 14. And there was a lot more people that actually put in money. You could see this on chain. So what do you think all those people are going to be pushing to do? Now, if you don't have a PulseX bag yet, it might actually be nice to take the alternative side of that trade and go in and try to scoop up some PulseX for super duper cheap in those early days, because I think a lot of people are going to try to be the very like basic amateur move is going to be swap your PulseX for PLS right away, just so you get some, right?
Yeah.
But that's just what everyone's going to do. And so, you know, if you're following the herd, you're not going to get the best deal. I mean, sure, you might get your bag and it's going to be fine in 2 years, but you know, you want to get a good deal. So
it's just... I like the strategy of buying something random that we think will hold a little bit of value, and get rid of that. You know, that way it's not like, say, Matic. I buy a bunch of Matic. I know I'm going to get a copy. I want to use that to trade, because then I'm not really dumping anything that means something to me. Right. I don't have to dump my Hex. I don't have to dump my Pulse. I don't have to dump my PulseX. I have all of them. I'm fine. But for those that aren't, you know, we want you to, you know, we've talked about people buying Hex, help the price of Hex, get a copy of it, but then they got to dump it. I still think there's a play there to buy something else that you don't care about, that you think, you know, has a decent community that will hold a little bit of value over there. There's going to be a ratio, so it shouldn't. Like that. And those aren't going to be as volatile, I don't think. At least, you know, if you really want to do it from the early days, I think that could be a good play as well.
Yeah, I like that idea. It's kind of fun, right? If you've got some bags of some random little altcoins, hey, no one's going to be paying attention over there. So see how much pulse you can get for them.
That's right.
There's going to be pools from day one, you know, because there were ETH pools, and that ETH is going to be transformed into pulse. Maybe you can get something substantial. I don't know.
Right.
It's just funny though. I see all these people just very, very, very bullish on PulseX, just because I know this is like true, because like it's just what they have. They miss PLS.
Right.
Like it's very, and like, well, they're like, oh, but the math, all the moon math and the buy and burn, and it's like, okay, but don't delude yourself. They're all going to do great. I'm not talking shit about PulseX at all, but just because you have it doesn't mean it's going to go straight up to the moon, right, forever. I do think in the near term, PulseChain will probably outperform, and then eventually, who knows? You know, PulseX could pick back up and overtake PLS. But it's just the distribution, right? It's the way the coins are distributed. Way more people have PulseX, and not as many people have PLS.
Yep.
I think you're exactly right. Based on that fact alone, I mean, it only makes sense that PulseChain would actually perform better out of the gate, because people won't have it as much. Plus, I mean, let's not kid ourselves. Like, that really is the main attraction here. I mean, like, we knew about PulseChain before anything else. It was out before anything else. You know, people are more aware of it, and it's the actual chain. So I think it's going to be what people are like more wanting to get into. Talking about like those other tokens, just real quick, because I am curious about this. Like you brought a Matic or whatever else, like some other token you can have to trade out over there. What do you guys think will happen with some of these tokens? Like we've talked about USDC. Like how quickly do you think some of those could lose their value, or how may they look on PulseChain? You know, I'm curious to like what some of those coins may look like on a whole new chain like that, and what the if they'll hold value. You know, if you want to get rid of them quickly, what do you think we could be looking at there?
I don't think a lot of them are going to hold their value. UX probably agrees with me on that.
Yeah.
The developers, the communities, they've got a lot of pride. They put a lot of time and effort into Ethereum. Ethereum is still looked at as kind of the blue chip, you know, kind of a premier layer one still. And everyone's already kind of loyal to their own ecosystem, right? You don't see a lot of, you don't see compounds being copied over onto the Phantom network, for example. And like Phantom just built their own version of whatever, and that's what PulseChain is doing. We're building our own versions of the stuff on Ethereum, but I don't think you're going to get a lot of loyal Ethereum developers and just, investors. I don't think you're going to get them flipping over day one. If I had to put my money on any community, actually flipping over and kind of becoming PulseChain loyalists, it'd be Shiba to me, because they don't care. They're just in it for the memes.
Well, that and their transaction fees will be affordable. I mean,
yeah, yeah, Shiba's. I mean, they did really well in the last cycle too.
Yeah,
I could see them adopting Pulse.
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
We pretty much know that USDC isn't going to hold value for shit, basically. And if it does, who's to say that Circle doesn't come in and invalidate them? So
easily could. Yeah.